Okay, everybody, welcome to Archaeological and Forensic Science Lab Methods, specifically the module on data analysis with R. I'm your instructor, Alec Weitzel, and I'm looking forward to working through this course with you. So in this module, I've got several objectives. First, I want to ensure that all of you develop a basic working knowledge of data science, and specifically data science as applies to the fields of archaeology and forensic anthropology. Now, data science is kind of an in vogue word for the manipulation and analysis of data, and specifically using computers. It differs from statistics in a more conventional sense by this heavily computational approach, through this kind of acknowledgement that data sets nowadays are so often large and complex that it really requires knowledge of programming and computational approaches to effectively analyze these data. Second, I want to impart to you kind of some knowledge of working with data, how to handle data, manipulate, analyze, visualize data, how to report the results of your analyses, and also very importantly, how to curate data, how to make it available to yourself for future reference, and how to make it available to others to ensure the reproducibility of your science. Next, I want to help you develop a bit of a familiarity with the programming language R. We'll talk more about R in a subsequent lecture, but basically R is a very popular programming language these days that's specifically very useful for running statistics. I want to help you understand a little bit about R code and how we employ it, how to write it, how to read it and understand it, how to adapt R code from other people, and also why it's ethically important to be using an open source programming language like R, and why it's ethically important to be making this code that you write available to others. Importantly, this is an applied course. That means a couple different things. First, that all of the examples that we're going to discuss, all of the data sets that we use, are going to come from the fields of archaeology and forensic anthropology. All of the statistical analyses that we run, all of the plots that we create, is going to be using real-world archaeological and forensic data. There's no kind of silly hypothetical data sets here about the height of various people in U.S. states, or about coin flips or rolls of dice. Everything is real data from these two fields. Also, because this is an applied course, we're really not going to delve deeply into anything. I'm going to be giving you kind of a basic, cursory, surface-level knowledge of several different areas of data science and statistics, and hopefully kind of teach you that you can understand this, and it is possible for you once you have a baseline knowledge and kind of a grasp of the vocabulary and the basic terminology, that you can teach yourself a lot of this stuff. You can figure this out on your own, depending on your own research questions and the analyses that you need to run for your data. I also want to teach you about various types of data that archaeologists and forensic anthropologists often encounter, that there are different types of data out there that require different approaches to best analyze them, and to then show you some common statistical techniques that can be used for these various types of data. A little bit about who I am. As I said, my name is Alec Weitzel. I am an archaeologist, an anthropologist, and a lot of my work concerns human ecology or human paleoecology. And very often these days I find myself working with sometimes quite large data sets, and often running statistical analyses on these. Sometimes very simple statistics, sometimes a little bit more complex. I have a rather complicated relationship with statistics in my past, and I think it's important for me to go over a little bit about this, just to show you kind of where I come from and how I think about these things. When I was a senior in high school, in my fourth year of high school, I took advanced placement statistics. I absolutely hated it. I blew the class off entirely, did not pay attention, regularly got C's, D's, and F's on exams and projects. And it was really generally not a good experience. I remember very little from that class because at that point I had decided I was going to study archaeology in college. And of course I didn't need to know about statistics or math to be an archaeologist. This is what I thought at the time, and how wrong I was. Whenever I got to college, I avoided all math classes. I did not take a single mathematics or statistics course in my 4 years of college. But in my fourth year, in my senior year, it came time for me to write my senior thesis, where I was analyzing some archaeological data from a site in Alabama, specifically animal bones from that site. And I realized, as I was staring at my data, and here's an actual plot from my senior thesis of college, showing the proportion of box turtle remains through 3 different time periods. I was looking at my data, I was looking at these plots that I had made, and trying to grasp, for example, all right, if I've got this first time period and then the second time period, and the proportion of box turtle remains goes from 0.4 to 0.5, is that a big difference? Is that a big increase? Is that statistically significant? Is that real, meaningful? I had no idea, right? This could be kind of an accidental or just random slight increase in box turtle remains based on small sample sizes I was dealing with, or this could have been a very real increase between these 2 time periods. I didn't know, and I did not have the background knowledge in statistics to know how to even begin to approach this problem. I tried asking around other people who knew statistics, but ended up just giving up and just throwing these plots into my thesis and moving on. And so this was kind of an experience for me that made me realize that at some point I needed to learn some statistics. And so when I got to graduate school and started working on my master's degree, I started taking stats classes. The very first class I took in my master's degree was a statistics for anthropologists course. Later on in graduate school, I took more statistics courses for anthropologists, for archaeologists, spatial statistics. I took statistics for ecologists in the EEB department, just trying to get a broad knowledge of statistics applied to kind of the fields that I was most interested in. And so I think that knowledge of statistics really puts me in a useful position to kind of help others along. Because as I said, I'm not naturally good at this. This did not come easy to me. I did not care about this until the time came for me to really start caring about it. And so in archaeology, there has been a lot of attention to statistics. There's a number of statistics textbooks for archaeologists out there. None of them are required for this course. I'm just showing you some of the main ones for your own edification in case you're interested in picking up one of these for a bit of reading to delve a bit deeper into this field. Drennan's book, Statistics for Archaeologists, is kind of it's long been the standard textbook on statistics for archaeology. In my opinion, it's a bit old. It's a bit kind of focused on basic statistics, but it goes into a great degree of detail on a lot of that basic stuff. There's a lot of probability theory and a lot of deeper level things that I'm not sure that folks really need to know for most basic applications of statistics to archaeology. Shannon's textbook, Quantifying Archaeology, is a really good one. That's what I learned on in kind of the first stats class I took for archaeologists. It's got a little bit more complex statistics in there, which is great. It does a good job of explaining them. Van Poel and Leonard's book, Quantitative Analysis in Archaeology, is a bit simple. It's really good and foundational and kind of has a lot of good stuff on probability and the theory behind statistics. It doesn't really get into really sophisticated statistics that we sometimes need to delve into, but it's nonetheless a very good text as well. And then finally, in just the last couple of years, I think in the last 3 years, McCall and Carlson have both put out textbooks, Archaeology by Numbers and Quantitative Methods in Archaeology using R. The last one of these, Carlson's book, I really want to draw attention to because it's the only one of these textbooks that has been written for archaeologists that is actually meant to be used in conjunction with R. All of the rest of them are kind of agnostic towards whatever statistical software packages you want to use, but Carlson's textbook includes R code. It actually discusses how to use R, and I think that's really important and necessary at this point in time for any field of science, that we really need to be starting to develop knowledge of programming in conjunction with knowledge of statistics. And all of the examples that we use, perhaps not all, but most of the examples we use in this module here are going to come from Carlson's textbook. The textbook itself is pretty good. I've got some issues with it, but the important thing is that there's a data set that Carlson pulled together of real archaeological data, and he created an R package for it, and you can download this R package, and that's what we're going to use to run a lot of the statistics and do a lot of the things that we're going to do in this module. And so the format of this course, we're going to start off with some of the basics of R, what it is, why it's important to use it, and how to use it. Then we're going to discuss some basic statistical concepts, just to get you somewhat up to speed with the terms that we use and the kind of foundational ideas in statistics that are necessary to then run some statistics yourself. And then finally, we're going to get into some common statistical tests for archaeological and forensic data and how to do them in R. The format of this course is kind of in the form of a series of lectures that will be scattered throughout, intermixed with some video tutorials where I have recorded myself working through a lot of this stuff in R, so you can watch me program in real time, sort of. And I've also got associated PDF files that contain all of the code that I'm working through in these video tutorials. So you can watch the videos, you can work through those PDFs of the code as well, just to make this easier on you to understand what's happening. And then after every video tutorial, there will be an exercise or two, just little things that you could work through on your own to make sure that you understand how to do this. And I'll attach answers to all of those exercises as well. And then finally, there will be a final project, nothing too arduous. And the grading for this module, most of it's going to be participation. I'll be tracking you as you work through the lectures and the videos and the exercises. I won't be evaluating the exercises, that's just for you, but I will be just tracking to make sure that you are clicking on these things and progressing through them. And that will be 70% of your final grade, and then the remaining 30% of your grade will be from the final project. And there will be more details on this posted later, but basically what the project will consist of is analyzing some real archaeological or forensic data, running a model, visualizing it, and reporting on your results. Now, I do want to note that all work in this module must be conducted in R. You cannot be using Excel or SPSS, SAS, Python, MATLAB, whatever. I will not accept any work that was done in those other languages or other software packages. The whole point of this is that you need to learn some sort of programming language, and R is a really good candidate for that, as we'll discuss. And so I really want you to force yourself to do this in R. I remember that when I first started learning R, I kept thinking to myself, man, I could do this in Excel in 10 minutes, and this is taking me forever to figure out in R. But now that I have a little bit of a knowledge of R, things that would take me 10 minutes in Excel take me 2 seconds in R. R is really that much more powerful than many of these other statistical and software packages. So force yourself to do it, force yourself to use it. It's the only way you're going to learn.